Winter's Night, Part 3. What the fuck? I mumbled to myself as I was taking in the sight in front of me. This house had to be at least 100 years old, surrounded on all sides by trees and high grass. The man in the doorway looked to be just as old as the rundown house. Jack looked at me and said, "Let's go." I started to get out of the truck. No other choice to follow suit. We started walking towards the man in the creepy-ass house. That's when I noticed it was quiet. The same type of quiet that I experienced at John's house. This made me pause for a second. Jack looked back and gestured with his hands for me to catch up. I picked up the pace until I was shoulder to shoulder with him. As we got closer, he waved at the old man, who had his dark eyes trained on me. When we got to the steps, Jack told me to wait there. He walked up the old creaky steps and then stood right in front of the man. They talked for a few seconds. All the while, the old man kept his eyes on me. I couldn't make out what was being said, but the conversation ended in a handshake. But when they shook hands, the man pulled Jack in close and whispered something into his ear, with Jack acknowledging it with a slight nod. Jack turned back towards me and took a few steps towards the edge of the porch. "Come on up here, Mason." All this shit was sketchy, to say the least. But Jack said I would get some answers. And well, after seeing that scene in the black streaked woods at John's house, I've never been so thirsty for information before, ever. For some reason, my stomach sank to my feet when I took the first step towards the two men. "Mason, this is Alan. His family has owned this stretch of land almost as long as this town has existed. I met Alan when I became a deputy here, after what happened to John and his friends. When the black shoe sewed up, I was walking away from the area when he flagged me down. I studied the two men in front of me. What the fuck is going on in this town? What was that thing at John's house, and who are the black suits you keep talking about?" Alan motioned toward me with his hand out. I reached out and shook his hand, and the man clamped down on mine like a damn vice. Looking me square in the eye, he said, "Welcome to my home, Mason. But watch your tone, boy." I was beginning to try to yank my hand free, only for Jack to give me a look telling me to chill out, while still squeezing my hand with an ungodly amount of strength. He looked me over again, then began talking. "So Jack told me you made your way over to John's house. Told me that you've seen the dark." He then released his grip. The feeling slowly started to come back to my hand. "I don't know what I saw, sir. It was just a black streak moving through the trees." Alan gave me a hard look and said, "Yeah, you saw it, or it let you see it. By the way, you're in it now, Mason." "I'm in what? What is going on in this town?" Alan simply turned his back and motioned for Jack and I to follow him inside the house. The inside of his home was old, but it wasn't as run down looking as the outside. We made our way past the living room, which was filled with very old looking furniture and tons of black and white photos on the walls. Moving down a long hallway toward the back of the house, which was also filled with all photos. Alan stopped at a door to the left at the end of the hallway. When I got closer, I noticed the door was covered in weird symbols. When I spent time in the military and the contracting field, I've come across dozens of dialects. I can't speak them, but I can tell you what they were. I've never seen anything like this before. Plus, the door had one of the biggest deadbolt locks on the market. Alan unlocked the door and stepped in, followed by Jack. You know that feeling you get when you know nothing but bad is about to come from the decision you're about to make? Well, as I stepped into that room, it hit me like it never has before. The room was covered in newspaper clippings, drawings of weird-looking creatures, handwritten notes, and actual photos. It looked like a damn operations HQ. In the middle of the room sat a table with 4 chairs. The 2 men I just followed already sitting down. "Have a seat, Mason. Trust me, you're going to want to sit down." Jack pointed at a chair. The old man stood up and moved over to one of the walls, looking for something. He pulled down a piece of newspaper and then moved to another wall and removed a handwritten letter. Alan walked back over to the table, laid out these 2 pieces of paper, and then sat down. "So you want to know what's going on in this town? Want to know what the dark is? Okay, I'll give you what you want. But once you know this secret, there is no going back." He slid me a piece of newspaper. 3 local men were attacked by a bear. This was the attack John told me about. "Is there a reason you're showing me this? I already heard about it." Then Alan slid me a handwritten letter. It was dated June 7th, 1870. Read this and you'll understand, Alan said, looking at Jack. To my family and generations to come, I have made a horrible mistake. I thought it was the right thing. I never thought I would bring ruin and death to this beautiful valley. I was fooled into thinking that practicing that terrible ritual under the guise that it would benefit the land. I have released something from a forgotten part of history, only known as dark. It has already killed 5 hunters, as the people in the area scared to leave their homes. It is all my fault, but I believe I have found a way to keep it in the forest. I found the symbol, and it has to be carved into 5 trees that surround the valley. I begin putting the symbols on these trees. I hope this works. Please forgive me. Thomas. I looked at Alan, who was staring me in the eye. The man who wrote this letter, who is he? He was one of the founders of this town, my great-grandfather. Alan shifted in his seat a bit. He was a greedy man, a man who would do whatever he wanted to increase his power and wealth. The town began to realize he was doing very dark things out in that old pine forest. Jack looked over at me and said, "The same area that you bought your house in, Mason. You never found it strange how cheap you got all that property for?" I was starting to get pissed off. How in the hell do you let someone move out there knowing that this thing is in the fucking woods? Alan and Jack just sat there. Answer me, damn it! Jack stood up from the table and put his hand on my shoulder. I'm sorry, Mason. Please, sit down. We aren't done yet. Alan, still sitting at the table, said, "That property you live on had been empty for a very long time. We would maintain it as best we could, but we would not allow anybody to buy it. We just couldn't risk it. I have been studying this thing my whole life, trying to find a way to trap it or kill it. Now I'm pissed and confused. So how did I become the lucky one to buy that property?" That's when Jack looked at me and said, "There is a reason why you're the one who got it. I looked into your background before you purchased that house and property. Single, no family, military background. Mason, I scouted you. We found a way to get rid of this thing, and we need your help.